statement, we would be learning the Microsoft. My bad. Sorry, it's a typo. Azure storage terminology. In terms of a Microsoft storage, or I can say Azure storage, files are stored in a container. Okay. And as it's an Azure, we can call it as a Azure container. So there would be a, I can say, Azure container, and there would be a dedicated ID that we would be generating. I'll say, I'll tell you what is it. What is it? Here again, I can keep this Azure container ID as a, let's just keep it as a open 255 character. And in this container, I can have multiple files getting uploaded. I can say Azure file ID. For example, I am giving the file ID as a string, again 255, because anything can be uploaded. Now, it means I am creating an attachments folder. I am creating a database table of attachment, which is containing the name of the file, type of the file. Consider I am uploading a sample.txt. So it would contain sample.txt. It would contain text.text/plain as a MIME type. But while storing the actual file's content, which is required for downloading, it won't store it. It would directly upload the file and just store the reference of that particular file. Azure container ID. It would store the ID of the container, saying, okay, let's just say container 1. When I say container 1, now there are plenty of ways, plenty of design pattern based on you, which you can design. You can define how many containers you want. Okay, let me just show you the container, then it would become more clear to you. For example, this is a Azure Storage Explorer. This is a I can say free software that you can have in your system, and this particular storage application would allow you to connect the remote storage account in case you want to see the files those are getting uploaded. Okay, so this is my storage account. Okay, now when I say I do have a storage account, how I can see that? I can say let's just say there is this site called portal.azure.com. If you see, I have just logged in with my account over here, and over here I just created one storage account of this particular type. As this is my trial account, again with same short of 30 days trial, okay, it won't allow me to have any sort of I can say unlimited storage account, but I can create one. So I just created a style storage account, but just by following the same procedure, just I just give the name, next, finish, and what it would do is it would generate this particular storage account of this kind, a normal storage account, which would allow you to store any sort of file. Now to connect it externally, you need some sort of, like we were talking of the ABAP environment some time back. What it requires? It requires some sort of access key. So there are two kind of access key, one kind of a private and one need which can be shared. So there are some sort of keys called shared access signature. When I say shared access signature, what is it? Okay, shared access signature, whenever I am saying shared access signature, shared access signature, these are nothing but the URL which are used to uniquely identify a storage account. This storage account's URL would be used for any sort of uploading, downloading, any sort of viewing purpose, anything. So for example, I do have this storage account over here. Okay, let's just detach this. I don't want this for now. Let's just say how I can create one storage. So this is a storage account. It's a normal account creation. After going into this, I just went into storage account. I just created a normal storage account. there was, yeah, using the create option, and I was able to just create one. It was that simple. But after creating the account, main thing is how I can connect to that. So you have to get some sort of shared access key. Now I want to have access for the container. Before that, let me just give you a visualization that how a storage account in Azure works. So you see, after jumping onto BTP, we are getting bit more global. Earlier, you might have thought, okay, it's an SAP, and we would be spending our whole life with the SAP. That's true. I mean, that would be good for a good long-term stable career, but it's also good to get connected with the technology outside. If I can make my technology open, that would be good for me as well. So this is my Microsoft account, and using a Microsoft account, I can also connect, or I can say I can also create a Azure account that I can do using portal.azure.com. That's where I'm connected to. After coming over here, this account has something called storage account. This storage account, which I just created, has one more thing. It has a data container. Now, why I just came to this Excel is just to make you understand what is a data container. So let's just say I do have a storage account. I created that. I generated the service access key. I connected it over here. But while uploading the file, if this is an open storage account, I do have an option that I can keep on uploading all the files over here. There are, let's just say, employee dashboard which you are building, and you can keep on uploading all the files at one place. And it would also be easy for the system to upload and download, because all you would need is a default container. So ultimately, a storage account is divided into containers. Storage account, how they are divided? I can say divided into containers. If you are having a one default container where you are also putting all the files, then it's totally fine. It's totally up to you. You can do that. One more way of designing would be, let's just say I do have an employee dashboard. In the employee dashboard, I do have, let's just say, 10 employees who have enrolls. Or let's just say I do have 10 employees, a very small company. So I do have a 10 employees who have enrolled. And out of those 10 employees, let's just say all of them are uploading 2-3 required document for the processing. So the very first employee who is uploading, if I upload the file over here in the default container, then second and everything, let's just second employee start uploading, I upload it over here. Then next time when someone clicks on the hyperlink saying click here to download the file, it would start with the file ID and click upon click of the file over here, it would start downloading it over here. But when I physically go in the storage account, and if I try monitoring that, okay, if I talk about the first employee, how many files he has uploaded, then it would be very hard for me to identify that. So I can also go with the design when I can have a dedicated container per employee. If I do have 10 employee, I can say container EMP1 for employee 1. Likewise, I can have a different container for employees. And let's just say for first employee, he is uploading 3 supporting documents. So I can keep it in my one container. That is also one of the design pattern you can follow. Second design pattern, or let's just say third design pattern, one we already talked about, that there is a default container where all the files are getting uploaded. Another design pattern would be for each file those are getting uploaded, you create a separate container. One container per file. Anything you can go with. There are no fixed rules how you can create the container, but all you should be knowing is this is your Azure storage platform. You do have a Microsoft account, you created an Azure account, it does have a storage account. And if I talk about the accounts hierarchy, I would have a storage account. A storage account would have a data container. This data container can be 1 to n, and one container can again contain 1 to n file. So this is how the hierarchy would define. Okay. So now if I do have a storage account, and if I want to link this, because post which we would be doing all the coding to actually upload the file in this data container, and file would be placed over there and we would be downloading it. Okay. To make it simple, we would be doing like this. We would be creating a container over here like this. In case you want to change the design, you can also change and create it like this as well. Okay, we would be going with the simple, but you would be learning how I can upload the files and process it in the remote containers. Now, over here, how I can generate the service key using which I can connect over here. All you can do is you can say um, how many resources, what all kind. Okay, when I say I'm generating a service key to a account can be n. There can be n number of service keys. Okay. For example, I do have a set of user for which I only want to give the read access. There are users for which I want to give the read and write access both. Depending on that, you can choose what all access you want to provide. For example, I am admin, so I'm creating it with all the permissions, and I want the service container, and service is nothing but your storage account service. Container is the container that you are creating inside that. Object is nothing but the file or individual one which you are uploading. This all the resource type would be accessible using single service key. That's what I am mentioning over here. Then you would are saying that this service key which I am generating should be valid for, let's just say, one more month. It should be valid till 1st of August. And I want it to be accessible from both HTTPS and everything. Now, as this is a, I can say, normal trial account, it would only give you basic or basic kind of routing mechanism. If you are going with a premium one, you would be getting multiple options. Now, if you see, I am going with a generation of a signing key. Once I say generate SAS and connection string, if you see it generate multiple URLs. So this is something, maybe I can say we are entering the world where we have a third party APIs, third party services that we are going to call. Okay. So for our example, we would be storing this. This is something that we would be using going forward in our all the example. Okay. I can say connection string, and I'll just copy this. I'll tell you which all can be used where. So the first one and the third one is something that we would be very vastly using. These are the things that are very rarely used that we won't be using for our example currently. But let's just store this in case we need it anywhere. So this is how we can generate the service key after having it copied once. Because if you see, I had generated that earlier, but the moment you just close this, they would start disappearing. You won't be able to find them. That's how how sensitive they are. So I'll just copy this from here. Post which so you can have n number of services. Okay. For example, if you want to store some sort of process queues, or let's just say some sort of internal file service based services you want to provide, and everything is possible. But it's the that is the capability of Azure storage. Okay. We want to go with the capability of a cap. So we would be seeing how I can connect to that. That would be my first intention. So for example, I created this account. What is the name? S trial storage account. That's what I have mentioned. Now I want to connect this for a viewing purpose. That would be my first step. I'll go in the storage account and I'll say, I want to connect to this. So this is not the settings Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer on your local system as well. This is how it would be looking like initially. It would contain all this information. They are empty inside because I don't have anything stored as a part of that. If you want to connect, I can say connect to Azure storage. There are different ways to connect to that. So for example, I want to connect to my storage account. I want to connect to my storage account over here. I'll just click on that. It has multiple options. Either I can go with the connection string. Do I have a connection string? I do have. I can go with that. It can also expect shared access signature. So these are shared access signature. There is also something that can work. I'll go with this because I do have a full connection string. Click over here. Just go next. Paste the connection string over here. This display name is getting filled automatically. You can name it however you want, because many a time we do have a connection string. We might have given the same name, but for you to visualize, okay, let's just say once you start creating such service, you would have multiple connection string, because One connection string would be, let's just say, for an application to upload the files on a development environment. On a development environment, whenever you are monitoring the file, that would be a kind of very public, everyone may be able to view that. Then you also want to see it for the quality and production, so there would be different connection string. In case someone deletes that, then of course it would have its implication on the live system. Okay, that's why we would have a different storage accounts. I'll just say next. You can say connect, and if you say it, just build this. So this storage account, this blob containers, blob is nothing but a media files. This is something that we would be working on. So we connected to the storage account. We do have the blob containers here. While uploading the file, we would be writing the logic. We would be writing all the required logic that the containers would get created internally, and those containers would be filled with the files. So whenever we are downloading, those files would get downloaded. Perfect. And now if you just go back to where we started, you would be able to correlate it. That if I am in a particular environment where storing a actual file is not advisable. So what should I store for an attachment to recognize it uniquely? So in an attachment, I'll store the name and the MIME type. Along with that, I'll just store the container ID of that, because I can have a different container ID, as a part of which I'll be storing the Azure file ID. That's what I'll be storing, and that's how I'll be able to uniquely identify a file. And whenever I am getting a request to download that, I'll be able to serve that request easily. Okay. So this is how the Azure storage accounts architecture is. Does this make sense?
Yes, yes, Sumit.
Yes, Sumit. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Now, so I guess to give a glimpse, so currently we do have, I guess, very limited time writing all the logic. It would take, I guess, maybe at least 1 or 2 hours. So what we would be doing is we would be going with a dummy example on the processing of the media entity as we had created for a temporary purpose. Okay, so I'll just say I won't be going with a media containers for now. Instead, I'll be going with a design on how a files get uploaded. So when you know how I can, whenever we are going with any sort of entity where I don't have a custom handlers. So now you also know what is custom handler. So if I don't have a custom handler, then all the standard processing would take place and they would handle all the processing. So in case I am going with attachment temp over here, it would have CUID managed, but I want actual files to be processed over here. So I'll just store it like this, and I can expect that it would upload the required file for me. And I'll just expose this. This is not the right way. We should not be doing that. But why we are doing it over here is we want to understand whenever a file is getting uploaded, how internally it is getting processed and how it would be looking alike. That's the only thing. Now I'll just go over here and I'll just expose this attachment temp as a service. I'll just go over here, employment service. I can say entity attachment temp, select from. Okay. Now, if I just go in the gen, I expect that I won't be having that particular attachment temp generated, because we have not recently generated the database content and everything, right? So we can do that. Okay. Now I am over here. So I do have a so these two entities are something that we have created. We would be start using it in our Saturday session. But today we would be working with this attachment temp to see the processing of attachment upload and download, or at least attachment upload first, because that is the main focused point of ours over here. I'll just disconnect this and I'll just say CF login for me to actually log in over here. So I'm connected over here. Now my storage account, my database is also up and running. I'll just go over here and I would try to reconnect this in order for it to Okay, there is also one more way in case that works, like we did it in the earlier session. You remember that we tried a simple command, and that particular command would deploy um, the files, and we would have the table generated. In case that works, let's just try it out. CDS deploy, we can say to HANA. I mean, that is a very weird thing over here with the service, that whenever you are typing the same command for the first time, it would fail, and the very second time it would start working. So I guess that's a limitation of the trial account, that they do have some sort of caching issue, very limited process, and I can say space allocated to that. But if I just go over here in the DB Gen, I can see employee BTP BTP local attachments and attachment temp getting generated over here. So they are there. So I do not need to connect and do all the processing separately. So I'll just go over here and say CDS watch. Okay. Now I want to do some sort of tasting for the media entity. So I can say get all the files in the system. So what I can do over here is I'll just copy the get command from here. Okay, and I would need the name of entity I expose. So I named it as attachment int. I'll just say get request. And it says I don't have anything. So it means we don't have any files uploaded till now. I want to upload that. So in case we want to upload any file over here, what we would need is, we would say, I would need a file first. So for example, let's just create some sort of test file. Either I do have an option of uploading some files over here, or I can just create. So I can say test files. I'll just create a folder. You can also have it anywhere. Just to keep it separated out, I'll just go with this, and I'll just have a new file which says sample.txt. And I am just writing, this is a sample file. Okay, so I do have a file over here, and I want that to be uploaded on my server. This is just for a local processing because I need to give a local path. In case you do have a Postman, we can also do the tasting with the Postman. Okay, now I want to upload a file. So when I am uploading a file, what does it mean? That I am trying to create a particular file into the system. Okay, and when I am trying to create a file into the system, what it would do? It would create an entry into the system, right? So the same entity on which we are working with the get call, I'll start working on it with the post call. Okay, now when I am starting with a post call over here, I have to specify the type of file, or let's just say path of file and everything. So first of all, I'll just say content type, and I want to upload a file of type normal text. So I can say text plain. I have to give a path of that. So for example, my path of the file is it's in my current directory. Then I do have a test files. Then I do have a file with a name. What was that? It's a sample.txt to be accurate. Okay. Now one more thing. Here we are saying that we do have a file name. Okay. We are specifying that with an annotation called content disposition. This content disposition is connected with, you remember we in ERP as well, in SCGW as well, we used to have some sort of slug parameter. This slug parameter is somewhere where it is connected to. So this slug parameter ideally gives you the value, okay, of this particular file name. You cannot directly pass that, okay, I have a file name, the MIME type. Did I specify MIME type anywhere? No, I specified content type, the standard request header parameter. Same way for file name, you again have a standard parameter. It is called slug. This slug parameter you would be passing, and you would say it's nothing but a sample.txt, for example. Now I can say taste. Let's see how it goes. Can you see? It just uploaded a file. It says mime type to text plain. Did I specify mime type anywhere? No. It just generated the ID. It just okay, provided as I have removed the security, it is picking anonymous, but that's not an issue. And over here, are you getting any sort of content? Are you getting any content in the return? That's not what system would do. What system would provide you instead is, in case you want the media, you can call the same service with this. This is a get call in case you want to download the file. Get call for downloading a file. Many a times copying from here is a bit difficult. Okay, will allow me to copy anything, please. Wow. Nevertheless, we'll just go other way around. Try to copy kind of a bit more detail. Right click works or not? So right click is also not working. Nevertheless, okay. So if it allows us, at least I would need the GUID, because the rest of the pattern we know. All we want is this particular GUID. It's not copying that. Sorry. Yeah. Nevertheless, what we want to have over here is, if you see my main point, focus point over here, or what I want to make you understand is, what call we trigger? We uploaded a file with a slug parameter. The slug parameter is linked with the content disposition annotation, which is defining the file name. And that is why, if you see the file name, it got it as a sample.txt. We could have named it anything. That's what it would upload it in the file name. MIME type it is getting from the content type, because we specified that this is a media type. Okay, and it is uploading the content, but while returning it will just give you the resource. One more important thing is, if you observe this console clearly, it is saying you are triggering a post call, but internally this post call is creating an entry. Then a put call, an update call is getting triggered. An update call is uploading the file for this ID in the content parameter. So the uploading of file takes place with two steps. One, uploading of the actual file. So sorry, uploading of the file goes with a two step. First, it would create an entry into the database. Once the entry is created, this content would be empty. And once the content, if the content is empty, what it would do is it would update that content. So put is nothing but an update. So it would again go with the content of the file and then update it. And that's how the file would get uploaded. So if I just copy this, I guess it would be easy for me to copy it from here rather than going in a more quicker way. Yeah, this is good. Now I want to download this file. So I can have the same call. Okay, and post which, if you see what it is having, it is having the GUID, and there I do have ID over here. Okay, and then there is a slash dollar value. The moment we say dollar value, it should proceed with the download. I'll just say get. Okay, I think did I copy it wrongly? Okay, sorry, there is a single inverted comma missing. I'll just say get. And it internally downloads the file, but as it is an internal client, it won't reflect it over here. But in case I open this over here, okay, and now I tried executing this command with this v2 employee, copy it from here. Okay, paste it over here. and I just enter. It's still not behaving the way it should. Okay, so ultimately file is getting uploaded. That's why we do have a link, but maybe it's not behaving the way it should. Okay, it's not how it should work. It should work the simplest way. No, this is not how. So ultimately, I guess internal get call is, I mean, on the local service, it's not working the way it should. But yeah, in the while uploading the file in our way, I'll just show you in the Postman how I can upload and download the file, and the same way it would also work in the live application. If I just get all the files uploaded till now, you should be able to find the files information over here with every possible information. Okay. So this is how a file upload works. It would seem like a post call, but it's a combination of both, and that's how it works out